it's time that we create write request model. That is, whenever the user creates a write request, or you can say trip request, that model, let's build that model. So here I will come to common model, and here we will go with a new file, naming it write request model.start. So let's make the write small. Okay, here we'll create a class write request model, and here we will initialize some variables. So date time, write create time, then comes up profile data model, writer profile, then comes up profile data model, driver profile, then comes up pickup and drop location model, pickup location, then comes up pickup and drop location model, drop location, then comes up string pair, string car type, then here comes up string write status and string OTP. Okay, so driver model, it can be null, pickup and drop location, it won't be null, the string fare, it can't be null, and this can't be null. So let's create constructor and let's create JSON serialization. Okay, so next we do need to create a provider, and the provider is going to be for rider. We will come up to controller, create a new folder, provider, and here create a new folder, services. So this is bottom neighbor provider. We will shift to provider folder. Here we'll go with a new folder, naming it trip provider. Let's create a new file, naming it trip provider.dart. Let's name it write request provider. Write request provider. Class write request provider extends change notifier. Okay, so here we will go with some variables. So let's have a look onto those variables. So these are those variables. Let's copy them, paste here, and let's import whatever needed. Google Maps. Okay, direction model. So here we have to initialize another model, and it's going to be direction model. So we'll come up in common model and create a new file, and it's going to be direction model.dart. So you will find that we are initializing some model inside common, some inside driver, rider. So basically those models which will be used by both rider and driver, we are initializing in common section, and those models or those provider classes which will be particularly used by only driver or rider, those classes, those provider classes and services or models are written inside driver or rider folder. Okay, so we will come up here in direction model. Here we will go with class direction model, and let's take the direction model variables. Here are those variables. We'll copy it and paste up here. So let's have a look. What are those variables? It's distance in kilometer, that is pickup location to drop location distance. Then comes up distance in meter, that is pickup location to drop location distance in meter. Then comes up duration in hour. Duration, it's, I think so, it's going to be in seconds. And at last comes up polypoints. So let's generate constructor. Let's generate JSON serialization. Yeah, let's save it. So here we will come to write request provider and import this direction model. Okay. Now we will write some functions. So there is another thing which we do need to write up here. So here we will come to common controllers services, and here we will go with a new folder, new file, and it's going to be direction services dot class direction services. Here we will go with a function to get direction between two destinations. So let's implement that function. So here we will go with a static future get direction details. Okay, so here we will take three parameters: lat long, pickup location, lat long is going to be drop location. Then comes up build context. Okay, so here we will go with try catch throw exception e. So here inside try we will write some of the codes. So before we go and write codes inside try, we have to initialize our API. Final API equals to URI.parse. Then here we will go with our API. So inside services we will go to APIs and keys, and inside API we will initialize another API, static direction API. Okay, so let's copy that direction API from here. This is going to be our API. We will copy, come up here, paste. Okay, so here we have to pass our key. So we will pass maps platform credential. Here we have to go with drop longitude, drop latitude. So here we will pass two parameters. It's going to be lat long pickup, lat long drop. So here we have to go with pickup latitude, pickup dot latitude, and next we have to go with longitude, pickup dot longitude. Then comes drop latitude and drop longitude. Let's paste the pickup one only, and here it's going to be drop, and copy this one, paste up here, and here it's going to be longitude. Yeah, let's save it. So here basically how this API works is that we give two lat long, that is pick up and drop, and it returns a tons of data. So basically the parameters it returns, like the data which we are concerned about, are distance in kilometer, that is the distance between 2 points, the distance in meter, distance in hour, duration, and polyline points. So we will extract this data from this API. Okay, this API, direction API. So here uri.parse will go with API APIs dot direction API, pick up location, drop location. Okay, so we have parsed the string into an URL, URI basically. So now it's time that we go for the API call. var response equals to await. So we have to make the function asynchronous. Await HTTP. So here we have to import the package HTTP. So let's import this one. We'll copy this line of code, come up here, paste here, HTTP dot get API comma header. It's going to be, let's copy from location services. Let's copy this header section, come back here, paste it here, comma, and here dot timeout. So on timeout, what we're gonna do, we will go with a const duration, and it's going to be seconds 60. And after timeout, what we're gonna do, on timeout, so we're gonna throw timeout exception, and the message it's gonna print out is connection timed out. And dot on error. So if there is some error pops up, then what we're gonna do, show exception error. Okay, now we have made the HTTP call. Now it's time that we go with our logics. So what we're gonna do, if status code is 200 and if it's not 200, if response dot status code equals to 200, then var decoded response equals to JSON decode response dot body. Okay, then comes up, we have, let's show the decoded response dot to string. Okay, now we will upload the data in our direction model equals to direction model. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's have a look onto how this API looks like and what are the data we are concerned about. So here is our API. We do have added the pickup location as Red Fort and drop location as Qutub Minar. So both two are in the same city. So let's execute this API. Okay, so we have to go to Google Cloud and Console and enable this API. Google Cloud Console, and go to APIs and services. Make sure you are in Uber project. Enable APIs and services. Here we will go to the maps and we will look for direction API. And here it is, direction API. So we will enable this API. So our API has been enabled. Now let's recheck this one. So the data in the API which we are concerned or which we do need is the distance text, the distance value, then comes up duration text and duration value, and at last we do need the polyline. So here we'll go to overview polyline points, and this is our going to be the polyline which we're gonna capture. So it's basically like, it's now we can't understand it, but we will make a function to decode this polyline. So let's move to VS Code and come up to our function, that is direction services, and here let's specify our route. So distance in kilometer, so it's going to be text one, copy path. Here we will go with decoded response, and here comes our path. Control X, Control V, routes of 0, then comes up legs, legs of 0, then comes up distance, and then comes up text. Okay, let's add colon here, not colon, basically this commas. Okay, we are good. So we will copy the same, paste here, and instead of text it's going to be value. And next comes up here, we will paste the same, distance in hour, so it's going to be duration instead of distance. Let's copy this, paste up here, and instead of text it's going to be value, and here we are remained with the poly points. So the destination for poly points is legs, then overview polyline. Let's copy the path and paste, routes of 0, then overview polyline. So we want this one, copy path, paste, routes of 0, overview polyline, and then points. So let's remove this 0 and let's remove this text. Okay, we are good now. So now let's print this response log, and here it's going to be direction model dot to map dot to string. So from here we can remove this log message. I will just simply comment it out. And now it's time that we update context.read. So let's come up here. We do have this direction services. We also do need to initialize this direction in rider controller, rider provider, trip provider. I think so. There is some direction model. Yeah. So here we will go with a function to update the direction. So here we will call update direction, and here we will accept a direction model, new direction. Here let's go with direction details equals to new direction, and let's notify listeners. Okay, so we will head over here, and it's going to be write request provider dot update direction, and it's going to be direction model.